my mid-20s, I really struggled having a long-term love relationship. And it was the thing I longed for most of all. I dreamt of being married one day, having kids one day, the white picket fence, the whole thing. And I was struggling, and I didn't know how I was going to get from 1 or 2 dates, maybe, to this long-term love future that I envisioned for myself. And so I thought about therapy, but this was 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. And there was a lot of stigma connected to therapy in those days. Even New York City, which is where I was, I still felt some hesitation, and I kind of dismissed my issues as not being legit enough. And so I didn't move in that direction until the pattern continued. And then at that point I decided, you know what? I don't care about the stigma. I want to figure this out. I want to understand what's between me and having the love that I dreamt of. And so I got a few names, and I connected to this therapist named Bonnie. I lived on the Upper East Side at the time, and her office was just a few blocks from where I lived. And so I showed up for our first appointment. She opened the door. The first thing I was struck by was her beauty. She had curly red hair and freckles and wore this beautiful suit with matching lipstick. Typically, I might have been intimidated by somebody put together in that way, but her warmth was also something I was hit immediately by. And we sat down, and I started to tell her my story. And she listened, and I felt emotionally safe to share with her what was going on with me. I had been afraid that if I told somebody my story, they might verify that I, in fact, might be unlovable. That was the fear. That was the story I told myself of what was probably going on. But that's not what she said. And she gave me the space to really show up and be seen. After a few sessions, she suggested that I join group therapy that she also ran. Now that idea terrified me. The thought of sharing what I'd been sharing with her with strangers did not sound like something I would be able to do very easily. However, it was intriguing, and I was building some trust in her, so I decided to do it. When I showed up for the group in the waiting room, there were people there. Clearly they knew each other. I didn't know anybody. And when she let us into the room a few minutes later and I sat down, they all started talking as if they were in the middle of a conversation that I hadn't been a part of, and I hadn't been a part of it. So I sat quietly, waiting for her to introduce me, but she didn't. And towards the end of this 90 minutes that we sat together, she finally said, "Tanya, why are you being so quiet?" And so I don't really remember what I said in that moment, but I said my name probably and why I was there. Well, I don't think I told people why I was there, but I just said a little something. I don't know what it was. And everybody in the group kind of looked at me and noticed me as if they hadn't even noticed me before. When I went to the second group, I did share a little bit more about why I was there. And this man in group, remember, the thing that I feared of most of all was somehow being made clear that I was unlovable. And so this man in group said that he could spot my neediness immediately. And so that was the thing. In my mind, he was confirming that I was unlovable. And I wanted to run out of that room, but I didn't. And really it was in the staying with it and being there and letting myself be seen and facing some hard truths and being human and seeing other people be human. That was the most transformational experience I had ever had. It was amazing. And during that time, I started to trust myself. And so as I considered I might be unlovable, I learned how to put a facade on. So I kind of thought, how do I want to show up for other people? What is it that I want to kind of say? How do I want to be? And so everything was sort of curated. When I did group, I started to let go of that and trust that I could just show up as myself. And pretty early on, I did meet the man who became my husband for 32 years until he passed away this past April. And we have two beautiful grown daughters, that 28, 26, lovely girls, women. And so that happened. But the part that I didn't anticipate was that I was gonna find a calling for myself. I was a graphic designer when I started this group. And as I had the experience of people wanting to hear what I had to say, and my life starting to change in ways that I only dreamt of, I decided to go back to school and become a therapist. So I got my social work degree at NYU. I started to become a therapist, did that work for almost 30 years. And it was very structured, and that was helpful, and I did lots of beautiful work until it wasn't helpful anymore. At some point, the structure started to feel limiting. I was losing myself. There was a facade. And so what I did about a year and a half ago is I released my license, because it felt clear to me that if I am going to show up in the world in the way where I can be my most magical self, I need to be able to follow my heart, trust myself, and do that. So I'm in that place now where it's scary. I don't have sort of the security of that structure anymore. I feel very much like if I were a trapeze artist and I was letting go of the one, what do you call it? I guess a trapeze, and I can see the other one, and I have not yet grabbed onto that and started to go into that. But uncomfortable as it may be at times, I am dedicated to trusting my heart and doing things that I know to be powerful. Things like this very moment of me sharing my story with you and being in this space where I'm trusting my heart, because that is where the magic lies. Thank you.
That's how you start a show, folks. In this class, when we have the class show, so the student will finish their story, and then they sit and we're applauding. Many times that student, a million things are going through their mind. Did they forget anything? What are they going to eat for breakfast tomorrow? There's just like so many different things. And so when the applause ends, they almost like, many of them just like miss it. You know what I mean? So what I like to do is when a student finishes, I'll say one more time, we applaud, and I ask the student, just take it in and know that that applause is for you. So one more time, everybody, for Tanya.